So good afternoon. I just forgot that I had to record. So good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's doing great. Today we have a wonderful panel and a wonderful topic. So the rules of engagement today, we have three panelists. So one of them, the ultimate time about what they have prepared for the topic. So we have three panelists. Each of them will take 15 minutes, and we are going to aim to keep in time. So aim at 10, max 15 minutes, each one of our speakers. And I won't take any time. I want to first introduce our speakers, our distinguished panelists. I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to share a screen. I'll start with Excellency Ambassador Salah Hamad, who is the African Governance Architecture, AGA, Secretariat, and the head of Rights and Transitional Justice within the Department of Political Affairs, Peace and Security at the African Union Commission. He holds a bachelor's degree in human rights and a doctorate degree in international relations with a focus on human rights. He's originally from Sudan. Ambassador Hamad studied law and political science in the United States of America. Ambassador Hamad has been appointed an ambassador in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the Sudan in 2020, and he was voted as an ambassador for human rights by the Arab Council for Human Rights in 2017. Ambassador Hamad served as the president of the African Union Staff Association, a mechanism established to promote the welfare and protect the well-being of the staff. For the past 20 years, he has dedicated to world development and human rights. As an international expert, he worked on issues of human rights, humanitarian affairs, refugee and resettlement, in the global development for international and continental organizations. As a young man, Ambassador Hamad dreamed of becoming a medical doctor. Now because of his ongoing commitment to help heal the world, today he keeps that dream alive through his work in promoting and protecting human rights in Africa. So welcome, Ambassador Hamad. So welcome. Our second speaker is young scholar, Mr. Dawit, who holds two bachelors two bachelors, first in economics from Advocacy University, and the second global studies and international from the New Generations University in Ethiopia still, but he also holds a master's degree in security studies, with gold medals because of his distinguished research papers. On addition, he's the he is a representative of the United Nations Commission for Africa and Peace by the African Union. So welcome, Dawit.
Thank you so much.
Our third speaker, last but not the least, is Mr. Aklilu, who currently serves as the National Secretary General of the Youth League, the in Ethiopian ruling party, which is Prosperity Party. Second, he has also served various positions of leadership, being the regional advisor to the president of the region. I think he will speak about that which region. Also serves, he's a permanent member to executive members of the party, the Prosperity Party. So welcome, Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So why don't we dive in today's discussion? And I'll start with Ambassador. His Excellency.
My day, I'm shining. Now you won't come for my face. I didn't when not you say no. So why you wanna try me? Just try me. You're out to
Where's
destroy
the
me.
noise? Oh, okay. I beseech you in the name of the Father, the Son, that you help us mute. Yeah. So perfect. Okay. Instruction, but we'll go ahead. Can you please mute Deng? Or you'll be kicked out of the meeting. As simple as that. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I'll start with Ambassador. I'll ask him a few questions. What is peace building from the onset? What is peace building from the basic knowledge of like starting point? What is peace building? Are you there?
Thank you very much indeed. Indeed, grateful and honored to be part of this discussion. Let me say good morning to those who are still in the morning, good afternoon, good evening, and it is a bit early to say good night, so I will save that to the end of my statement. But thank you so much. It's an honor for me to be part of this program on behalf of the African Union Commission, in particular on behalf of my colleagues in the Secretariat of the African Governance Architecture. Peace building, and maybe I can add another question to it. What is the meaning of, or what is peace building, and what is the difference between peace building and peacemaking? From an African point of view, of African Union point of view, we believe that peacemaking is a non-restrictive list of peaceful, diplomatic, and judicial means of resolving disputes and conflicts. So peace building is more than a process that has a broad post-conflict agenda and more than methods to secure peace. So basically, when we are talking about peace building, we are trying to really go deep, dig deep into the roots and try to uncover the root causes that led to the conflict, and try, in the process of peacemaking, making sure the foundation will remain strong, so then conflicts will not be erupted again. Peacemaking is basically to bring those who are part of the conflicts together around the table to negotiate peace agreements. So peacemaking is part of peace building processes. But of course, the peace building processes needs more commitment and more dedication, and also a more participation, wider participation of all the stakeholders that are involved in this conflict, to ensure that the peace building will lead to a more sustained peace that will last longer and will not, of course, dive again into conflict once more. Thank you very much.
Perfect. You brought a very to differentiate what is peace building and what is peacemaking. Okay, you had a very sensitive, I would say, like organization in the African Union Commission. What leads, first of all, to say that is peace building? I think there must have been, conflict in the first place to have peace. So what are some of the governance fallacies that have propelled conflicts and both civil, political in Africa? And why should young people be at the center of this discussion?
Although good governance, of course, thrives best in the atmosphere of peace, But also it's important to indicate the fact that peace could be better built in an environment of good governance. So good governance is part of that nexus of peace and development. So to really proceed with rooting peace in our societies and prevent conflicts from happening, we need to make sure that good governance is promoted and implemented. Why youth are part of, or they are in the center of this? In any conflict, in any armed conflict that we have seen or witnessed in Africa, we see youth who are those who are carrying the guns. Youth are usually they are those who are recruited to fight the fight on behalf of those who are sitting usually in hotels in Europe and in America and elsewhere. So the means, in fact, to fight the fight is not those who are really older politicians, but the younger men and women. And unfortunately, Africa loses a great number of young men and women due to conflicts and due to disputes. And if not because of that, the rest of them are drowning in the Mediterranean because they are also escaping conflicts and bad governance. So I think to answer your question is the best way to make sure that conflicts are prevented, peace is deeply rooted, is to ensure that good governance is widely promoted, widely implemented. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Governance structure. I'll come back to you, Ambassador Salah. Let me share. Dawit has a PowerPoint. Let me share his PowerPoint. So you can see it, Dawit.
Okay. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone of you. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank Mr. Eno and Ambassador Salah and our distinguished participant of our event. So let us try to cover my presentation within 10 minutes. Yeah, can you make it to enable editing? Or okay. Yeah, okay. The second one.
No, you told me to edit or something, guys.
No, it's the second one. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Share it.
Okay, the second one, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let us start from my speech. When I was in the AU User Advisory Board member, I was from 2017 to 2018. I was part of the AU User Advisory Board member. So in that time, I made a speech during that time. My speech was, when we see the map of Africa, it looks like question mark. That's why Africa has many questions, like questions of civil war, questions of poverty, questions of unemployment, questions of conflicts. But we, the young generation of Africa, are the answer for this question. So we are the one who can make or break Africa. Let us stand to make peaceful and secure Africa. Let us stand for developed and integrated Africa. This was my speech during Africa Youth Day celebration, the Africa Union. Okay, the second slide.
Is it, sorry, there is some weird noise. I don't know where it's coming from. Is it you?
No, well, yeah, now it's good. This was my speech. So when we see what does peace building means, is the first time the term or the origin of peace building is found in the edition of Agenda for Peace by the former Secretary General Boutros Boutros-Ghali. So in that time, he defined peace building as a structure which strengthens and solidify peace in order to avoid the relapse or the regaining conflicts. So According to this, the former Secretary General Boutros Ghali, peace building can take different forms like demilitarization, restructuring, policy and reforms, and economic and development and making election is the main aim of peace building. So peace building is the development of constructive personal and group political relationship across ethnic, religion, class, and national, as well as racial boundaries, as well as peace building include, as Ambassador Salah already mentioned, like conflict prevention, conflict management, conflict resolution, and transformation, as well as post-conflict reconstruction. So in Africa, if we see after conflict or post-conflict or post-election violence, we have to reconstruct, or we have to transform this conflict into peaceful areas. So there are three basic objectives of peace building. The first will be security transition. The second is democratic transition, as well as the third is socio-economic transition. These issues or these objectives are very basic related with peace building. So let us see security transition and what does security transition mean. So when we say security transition, the main focus of this security transition related with DDR. When I say DDR, disarming, demobilizing, and reintegrating those ex-combatants into civilian life, as well as safeguarding or facilitating the safe returning of those displaced people or IDPs, as well as refugees into their previous areas. The second will be democratic transition. When we see democratic transition, it may be related with democratic issue or democracy. As we know that democracy has its own core points, core elements related with election, related with the participation, active community participation in every government sector. So when we build peace, democratic transition is one objective. So it's related with the participation of citizens, especially in election, and creating good or safe environment for the protection of human rights, as well as making people to participate in all levels of the government. And the third objective of peace building is socio-economic transition. When we see socio-economic transition, it is related with social and economic activities, or working with different social and economic sectors. The first thing will be, rebuilding or building social or basic services, social services like water, transportation, food, energy, and everything, as well as repairing the infrastructure. As we know that in Africa, it is common. Devastating infrastructure during conflict time is common. So building and repairing infrastructure is very common or crucial related with socio-economic transaction. So the last thing will be on how or what are key strategies and what should be taken to be for effective peace building. So the first thing, how can we build peace, or what are effective strategies in order to build peace in Africa? As we know that there are different experiences from different countries, not only in Africa, as well as from different environments. There are a lot of activities or a lot of opportunities and strategies that we have to follow for effective peace building. The first thing will be peace building through advocacy. As we know that advocacy is common in Africa, and it is crucial and it's important. Advocacy, not only in peace building, in gender, youth, everything, even economy. So peace building through advocacy is effective strategy for peace building in Africa. So how can we build peace through advocacy? So first thing will be through social media. Social media are really influential in Africa, not only in Africa, especially for youth, as well as like newsletters, websites, SMS platform, YouTube channel, and by using both local and national language, even through short radio drama. It's common even when we see the experience of South Sudan during the South Sudan civil war. The South Sudan users are really active in preparing short radio drama and reaching the youth and building peace, as well as short movies are a good and effective strategy in order to build peace. So let us see the pictures. So here, this is in Angola. So this is also in Sudan through peace building through advocacy. The second will be peace building through dialogue. Dialogue is common, or dialogue is peaceful way to settle our dispute or to settle our conflict. So peace building through dialogue is key strategic for peace building. The first thing will be when we see even peace building through culture and religion. As we know that in Africa, religion is influential. So most of people of Africa has their own or they follow their own religion. So peace building through communicating and through by using those religious leaders is common. The fourth and the last thing will be peace building through peace education. As we know that every day, every year, in Africa there is conflict. Even after election or this post election violence is common in Africa. So we have to we have to give peace education in order to avoid conflict. So peace education is also good, and peace building through acknowledging the importance of youth and the connection between youth and peace building for transforming predominantly negative discourse. As we know that the youth considered as they are destructive. So transforming the negative role of youth and enabling and empowering youth for peace building, as well as peace building through acknowledging the youth as agent of positive peace. So not only use in terms of addressing challenges related with physical violence, but also users have its own effective and structural solution for peace building. So peace building through positioning the youth in society to bear leadership and potential. As well as peace building through providing youth with training opportunities. So peace building training, peace education training, post-election, how can we handle post-election violence in Africa? How can we handle civil war in Africa? So we have to communicate, or we have to give trainings for youth may have its own great strategy. So lastly, peace building through making youth as mediator, community mobilizer, and humanitarian workers is very crucial in order to build peaceful and secured Africa. I thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawit. No, we have a problem. I don't know where it's coming from. People unmuting and makes funny voice. Please, I repeat that you mute unless you have something to say. Raise up your hand diplomatically, then we'll give you a platform. But don't disrupt this wonderful session, okay? I hope people understand. The what?
If you give me, I'll be happy. Maybe I'll go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Dawit, for your wonderful presentation. You showed clearly how youth should be at the center of negotiation and peace process, or Yes, so I'm going to return now to Mr. Tadessa. Why you have a lot of experience in youth organization and youth leadership. When you're talking to young people at a national, regional level, or even at a continental level, what causes violence? What propels them to go into violence, and what causes them to be, join conflict? Because we've seen that most of the time it's young people who actually participate a lot in conflict. So what key strategic ways should we, first of all, what are those factors that cause them into violence, and how should we address them? You can mute. Sorry.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank us from my bottom of heart to the organizer of this valuable discussion and for inviting me to speak with very precious and respected persons like His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Salah Ahmad, and who is committing his life for long journey for the accomplishment of the vision of African Union, which is the umbrella institution of all of Africa. And with my beloved younger friend, Dawit, once again, I would like to thank us, all of you. When I goes to my topic that assigned by the organizer, first of all, when I go to my point, I would like to say something about the overall peace building. What about to mean peace building is? Actually, some points are addressed by the speakers who are speaking before me. Peace building is, the enforcing process that can help to build the legitimate or accountable states. Is the reinforcing process, and also is the act of solidifying or strengthening peace, or that avoid the relapsing conflicts. Conflicts, especially in Africa, the relapsing conflict is one of the manifestation of Africa. So to end this situation and solidify peace, the peace building task is very important. And also, this peace building is the act of addressing state fragility by promoting peace and stability. I think is to add something on the definition of peace building. When I goes to my point called why should young people embrace peace building in Africa? I think this is about why the reason we talk the young people's contribution is very huge on the peace building process. In my understanding, the first one is the share of young people on the society. According to the United Nations statistics, more than 1.3 billion people in the world are young people, like their age is 15 to 24. And when we extend the age limit, like from 24 to 35, is almost 2 billion people are belongs to users. And in some of African countries, including Ethiopia, when we see specifically, more than 40 to 50% of the whole society, the population, is belongs to young people. So this is very huge number. It's a significant number. So addressing this number, this huge significant number on peace building is like addressing the whole society. So the first thing, why should young people embrace peace building in Africa is their share regarding to the number. The other thing is the relationship between economy and peace is also the other reason. As you know that the peaceful environment of the states is the basic precondition to the development of states and the national growth. If in a specific state, if peaceful conditions are existed, then the development and growth will be automatic. So if we made consensus with this large number of the society, with the users, we can maintain peace. If we maintain peace, then the development plan and the growth, the overall well-being of that country will be okay. So the other thing is the relationship between economy and peace are very related. And also, young people are very productive part of the society. Young people have better physical well-being and physical strengths, physical force, better emotion to realize change, and better understanding level are, when we compare to the other part of society, we can got this all factors with young people. So you can mobilize under the development and growth plan of the states. If we have a consensus with young people, you can mobilize users to the development. Let me tell you one example in this regard. Our Prime Minister has very famous initiative called Green Legacy. Green Legacy is, the mobilization task that guide societies to plant every year from 5 to 6 billion trees in the country. This is huge mobilization task. So when we see the last 2 years experience, this task is going realized with the huge mobilization and participation of users. First, the Prime Minister and the youth organizing institutions are discussed with the young peoples and make consensus. So after that, the implementation is going very nice. So to execute the development plan, the growth, the mobilization, consenting with the young people is very important. So this is why we should embrace, users should embrace the peace building in Africa. The other thing is to create peaceful and secured continent and to increase the positive contribution of users. As we know that Africa is the continent with frequent conflicts. But if we make a good understanding on the badness and of conflicts with young people, we can create very peaceful and secure continent. In addition to, if we did this, Africa has the great plan called Agenda 2063. So even to realize this all agendas and aspirations, the investing on uses to peace building and empowering the young people is very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tadesse, for your kind submission. Yeah. So there's something that has been ignored. We talk about peace process, peace building. Now we want to talk about what's the relationship between politics and peace building, which is really a big critical factor. And I want to bring this question to Ambassador Salah. How has politics played in, first of all, in causing conflict that necessitates to build peace building, and how has politics influenced peace building in Africa?
Thank you so much, moderator, for your question. And I must admit that politics certainly plays a very strong role in both causing conflicts and also, of course, managing conflicts. That is why earlier I spoke about about issues related to good governance, and maybe I should begin by at least describing in a bit what I meant by good governance, because that could be really an entry point to then to determine what kind of politics really are helpful in managing conflicts, and of course the bad policies that we're all aware of that can really cause conflicts in Africa. I wish to also respectfully disagree with some of the remarks that were made by the two previous speakers, with all due respect, of course. Africa doesn't really look like a question mark. Africa could be looking like a heart. It could be looking like a pregnant woman with hope that a new generation will be born. But really, if we think of Africa as a question mark in itself, then we are very supportive of the allegations that were planted in us by the colonial authorities, the colonial power, when they left this continent. Because what they left, the legacy we inherited from the colonial era, is conflicts. And conflicts usually are caused by very simple reasons, not necessarily dispute of elections, but in fact that could be caused by lack of diversity management, like the case of Rwanda and Burundi. And Rwanda, that led to a genocide against the Tutsi, as we know, lack of management of diversity. So really, as Africans, we have to believe that Africa is a pregnant continent full of hope, and the future is us, certainly, as African and as Africa. Why? Now look at why we are really going from conflict to another. Simply because of natural resources, because of human resources, because of the future that is brighter here than anywhere elsewhere in the globe. Africa is attracting those. We don't produce weapons, my brother, in Africa. We don't. But we are fighting using weapons that are produced in America, in Europe. And by the way, you should ask yourself, and all of those who are participating, why it is very easy for a rebel movement or an armed group to acquire guns in less than a day. Who provides them with these weapons? Let me give you the answer. The answer is those who want to benefit from the natural resources we have. Because in any conflict area that we have in Africa, there is natural resources. There is something to be taken away. And that is why we are from conflict to another, from conflict to another. So that is why policies should be in place, should be put in place to make sure that we are really promoting good governance that will ensure inclusive participation of everyone or every individual without any distinction to race, to color, to religion, to tribe. We are encountering so many tribal issues now are leading to conflicts as it happens in Kenya after the election of 2007. Lack of good policies that could also be part of the good governance we're promoting. And that is why in the AGA Secretariat, the African Governance Architecture Secretariat, our first goal is twofold. One, to promote good governance on the continent, but also to ensure inclusive participation of all African citizens, and particularly African youth. I personally am no longer youth, although I'm youth in heart, but I always tell those who are youth, don't sit back and relax when you are told that you are the leader of tomorrow. You are not the leader of tomorrow. Youth are the leaders of today and tomorrow. So you don't have any time to sit back and relax anymore. And that is why these policies that we are talking about as good policies, youth should be part of the development of these policies. Youth should be part of the implementation of these policies. Because without the participation of youth and of women, we will not ensure that all of these good instruments, all of these treaties, all of these good policies are put into implementation. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Very clear, concise, and to the point. You said Africa is not a question mark. I actually 100% also agree with you. And I can see Dawit smiling. I think he also agrees with you now. But you pointed something about, I guess, when you say we don't produce weapons, rebel groups get weapons so fast, by the way, than even states before. They get weapons much faster and easier than even the states formation. But how is it what you ask yourself, like, okay, you bring weapons and I fight. So who is the problem? The person who brings a weapon or the person who fights? So I'm measuring the ideological capacities here. And I want to ask here the young leaders like Dawit and Tedessa, what is it the ideological capacity not to reason, that not to fight at the youth level or at the state level? How should we differentiate it? Because if you are bringing a weapon, go kill your parents, go kill. Why should I pick a weapon, go kill? So what is the problem there? I know you can't answer it, the whole of it on Zoom. It's a bigger one, perhaps. But what are your ideas? Looking from a young leader's perspective. Dawit?
Okay, by the way, I strongly agree with the idea of or the saying of Ambassador Salah, but yeah, as we know that Africa also a question mark, but the bigger one will be Africa is a pregnant woman. But don't forget, Africa is also look like a question mark. I mean, first let us say something in relation with peace building, Africa, and policy formation. I mean, the main problem in Africa is, or related with youth, is people who decide about youth without youth.
Okay.
Who people or official who have power but no have idea. Officials who have, but who are youth who have idea but not power. This is the main problem related with Africa and peace building. So let us see policy formation related with youth, peace, not only peace, economic empowerment and everything. So when we see the policy of peace building, there is no inclusivity of peace building. So mostly people who carry large weapon are people who are not engaged in employment situations. So if the government provide employment for African youth or for their youth, it will be easy to avoid problems or to avoid conflict, even to build peace before conflict. Even look Africa, even look South Sudan, look Ethiopia, everything, everywhere. the government, the United Nations, the Africa Union, all of them build peace after conflict. That's our main problem. But even silencing unemployment is building peace before conflict. So when we silence unemployment, we try to reduce the number of youth who carry large weapons to devastate or to distract the infrastructure and everything. Even I will tell you the experience of Ethiopia. So before 8 months, one of well-known artists has been killed. So in that time, many youths who are unemployed, they distract the banks, hospitals, and every social infrastructures. So they bring or they reproduce another unemployment, who are people who are working in that hospital, hotel, or bank. They also make them as unemployed. So unemployment, conflict is one and inseparable concept. So building peace before conflict is or silencing unemployment is crucial. So that's why we are suffering a lot from conflict in Africa.
Perfect. Unemployment is a big cause of conflict in Africa. So what about Teresa? What should we do? Well, what should because this should be taken from the government level, so to people themselves, like civil society, private sector, what should they do to address this kind of problem?
Yeah, thank you very much. We are discussing very nice point. As the speakers from who addressed before me, you know, the conflict or lack of peace has many reasons. Also, in my understanding, there are many issues. For example, one of that is unemployment also. They've raised that one example which happened in Ethiopia before almost 1 year. Not only that, but the last 4 or 5 years in Africa, in most of African countries, also in Ethiopia, such kinds of signs are, is familiar. The unemployed peoples who have no work, job for his life may join in any kinds of distractions, and also because we are living in a poverty life, people's need to get advantage by political ways, to have to get a power and to get many things they may use on young peoples, and those young peoples who are not job or who are not with a job may join on these situations. But this is not the only reason. There may be another additional reasons. As Ambassador Salah told us, for example, the political condition by itself, addressing diversity, unfair economic distribution through the country, unfair treatment, lack of equality, or all of aspects of government. These all are contributing for lack of peace. For example, in the last 2-3 years in Ethiopia, such kinds of conflicts was arised. In that time, the young people, not only the young people who are who lack a job, but some people's, some young, even they have a good money, and they have a good assets, was participating in that devastation.
So that you see.
Devastating occasions. In my understanding, the attitude building task also very important to Africa. Our academic schedules should be readjusted. We are teaching only the subject. The ordinary subject didn't create the human being's attitude. So we have to invest on the attitude of young people in Africa, in addition to empowering economic ways. So there's many factors. What I need to underline is the factors is not only one issue. So in Ethiopia, to address these problems, we are doing many tasks. For example, we have the institution called Job Creation Agency. On the last 3 years, on each year, planned to create 3 million jobs for young people, and the execution report is also good. This is, the good beginning, even if it needs to develop. The other thing, we have the program called Use Reasonable Dialogue, which we started by the last 1 year. It's the dialogue raised so many issues, like country issues, for example, unity of Ethiopia, entrepreneurship, respecting diversity, and good governance, for example, raising some issues continuously by two or 3 months. The dialogue will held all over the country, and once in a one time, the dialogue will address from 3 to 5 million young people. This may help to the young society to think things critically, and to share ideas, and to come up together in idea level. So we have to search very detailed, think over very detailed, and come to the solution in variety of dimensions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Like you said, it's not only one factor; it's a combination of factors leading to a bigger cause. So, I want to open it to the audience to ask a few questions, and then we'll have like a conclusive remarks from our dear panelists. So, if you have a question, shoot to the point, and yeah, and we'll hear your questions, ideas, or contributions. Yeah, Nelson.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Well, loud and clear, yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. My name is Nelson Mandela from South Sudan, and I would like to appreciate our guests. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the sharing of your ideas. My question goes to Ambassador. Yes. Nowadays, young people have been used as a tool for citing violence, mostly in African countries. So the reason why I see that they use the young people is, number one, it's either because of illiteracy rate or because of poverty. Because these people that they are fighting for, or these people that manipulate them, they give them something back in return in order to make a living. So how can you really help us or advise us to transform such kind of people, to turn or to avoid that kind of manipulation from our leaders. This is number one. But the second question is, in other way around, sometimes I do see that our leaders is either that they have been used indirectly or they are not true leaders. Because if you're a leader, you cannot destroy your people, whether you're opposition or whether you are the government. So if there's anything that if you love your people, you can bring it to the table, you can have dialogue in order to solve it. My second question goes to the second speaker. I want him to elaborate more
Nelson,
about, because I had
sorry to cut you.
Yes,
Nelson,
positive piece and negative piece.
You have
Please, the second
you have an opportunity to ask one question so that you give others to ask also. Okay, you can type your.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope Ambassador Salah had the question.
Yes, moderator, thank you. And thank you, Nelson, for your question. Let me just say this. Africa today is not Africa 50 years ago. 50 years ago, our main objective as Africans was to liberate the continent from colonialism. Now, 50 years later, Africa has progressed, embraced, development and democracy and democratic rules. And 50 years later, we as Africans, we are able to sit today at this moment to debate African issues without fearing being harassed or being jailed. So the reality is things are changing every day as we go. But maybe things are not changing as rapidly or quickly as we wish and we hope for. But I don't see that as a negative thing, because in many cases, quick changes also might cause confusion and panic. However, slow and rapid changes could be steady, and then they could also be stable, and then they could lead to more appropriate, I would say, results that are good for the people. So what I'm trying to say is, unfortunately today, many African young men and women, they are living under that mentality of the fact that Africa is not good for us. There's no opportunities for us unless we are given a job by the government. So the government became the largest employer in all African countries. And young men and women, once they graduate, the only thing they do in many cases, and I'm sorry to say it, they go and register with the employment agencies and they wait. But while waiting, they don't really try to embrace other ideas and other thoughts. I don't blame them, because also there might be no support mechanisms socially or economically available to them for them to at least achieve some of the dreams. But let me just quickly say that once I was in Germany and I was waiting for the train in one of the train stations in Berlin, and the person who was cleaning the station was purely an African person, clearly an African person, young man. But I could see from looking at his face the high level of depression and lack of satisfaction of the job he was doing. So I called him. I said, my brother, I'm an African like you, come, let's have a chat. I bought him coffee and we started chatting, to discover that he was a very successful doctor, medical doctor in his country. But because he had seen his friends who were in Europe coming back with good cars and building houses, he thought he could also do the same thing in lesser time than being a doctor in Africa. But he ended up being a cleaner in the station because he cannot speak the language of the country where he is now. So many unfortunate stories like this. As a result, those who are also unemployed in Africa today, they could be offered $1 or $10 to vote for someone who doesn't deserve to be elected into an office. There could be an offer $100 to join Al-Shabaab or to join the state, the Islamic State, or to join Boko Haram, or to join one of the rebel movements here and there, simply because they are getting $100 a month, because they cannot get it elsewhere. What I'm trying to say is, we as African youth, and let me include myself as part of the African youth, we need to do a number of things. One, we should not allow to be managed by those who are greedy in their political ways, those who are trying to achieve goals that are not our goals as youth, simply because they have the means and we don't. We need to create leadership among youth, and we need to empower the leadership among youth, and we need to knock on doors, not wait for calls to be called on us to come. Otherwise, the continent will never change. I will quickly say, and I'm sorry to take this much time, but this is really very dear to my heart. Let me tell you something, my brother. Africa is spend, listen to this, Africa spend $20 billion a year on what? 20 billion, not million. $20 billion a year on what? On beauty supplies, artificial hair and nails, and creams, creams to change the color of our African ladies from black to white. Why? Because the mentality, the black color is not beautiful, but the white color is better, which is absolutely ridiculous. Even be beautiful, start with be like black, because black is the real beauty. But this is the reality, and I'm sorry to say it loud and clear. We spend in Africa $20 billion a year. This money, how many universities can build? How many hospitals can build? How many schools to better education can build? How many job opportunities can build? The other side of the coin, we are now calling on investors to come, to chop our trees, to kill our animals. And at the end, they're not even employing our African youth, but they come with their own employees from where they come, from China, from India, from Pakistan, and elsewhere. So my brother, there's really need to look at it from a holistic point of view. If we do, then we will really, really build the Africa we want, that is peaceful, united, and prosperous. Thank you, and sorry for taking longer time.
No, it was very necessary. You can continue. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The issue is mindset. That's what I sense in your submission, in your mindset. I watched a documentary where a Congolese refugee was, was brutally harassed crossing from crossing to Latin America through US and then to Canada. And guess how much they spent? $20,000 along the way. But they were migrating to Canada seeking for a better life, spending 20,000 euros. Can you imagine that money, how much money you can do? So it's not poverty. And I think it is over-exaggerated, lack of opportunities and stuff. It's a bit of mindset. And that's the mindset you're talking about. And thank you very much.
Moderator, if you allow me to just add one quick information that could also be useful for this debate. In 2017, 89,000 Portuguese citizens, Portuguese from Portugal, migrated to Angola. 89,000. Some of them, they are chauffeurs, they are mechanics, they are plumbers. Some of them, they work in construction. Some of them, they are in the agriculture. Some of them in the mining. Very rare to find one of them is a doctor or a teacher or an engineer or a lawyer. 89%. So where are the young Angolan women and men? In 2018, 72,000 Portuguese again migrated to Mozambique. Angola and Mozambique, both of them are African countries.
Yes.
So the opportunities that attracted all of the thousands from Portugal to migrate to do these two countries should be available to the African young men and women.
Absolutely.
And that is why now the African Union is advocating for this free trade agreement, but also our biggest now campaign, and this is through you, I would like to announce it today, is to advocate for the free movement of people and the African passport by 2025. So our goal as an African Union to promote an African passport by 2025 that each and every African citizen will be entitled to. And with that African passport, African young men and women are free to reside and work in any African member state. This is just to enrich the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I accept the challenge of advocating that. Challenge accepted. Yeah. Look at Lawrence and Yabanesh.
Thank you very much for your great presentations, Ambassador Salah, Aklilu, and Dawit. Since we are talking about peace, I want to ask, we have different ethnic groups in most African countries. And when we think of peace, we usually think of a neighboring country. But now what we are lacking is internal peace with our brothers and sisters. So, I mean, what's currently happening in Ethiopia is different ethnic groups killing other groups, and we are seeing the same problem in Nigeria recently. So how do we deal with the internal conflicts? Ethiopia tried federalism, giving identity for ethnic groups, didn't work. After 20 years, there is more conflict that we are looking at. And then there is a unitary people who say, okay, no, we want to unitize the whole country. It's about Ethiopia, not ethnic groups. In Nigeria, the same thing, other African countries too. So how do we solve the internal peace chaos than dealing with neighboring countries? Thank you.
Thank you. I guess this is addressed to all the panels or to Ambassador.
All the panels, but I'd like to hear from Ambassador Salah.
Okay, that's it. Perfect.
Well, thank you so much. If you would like to hear from Ambassador Salah will not disappoint you. And will certainly try his best to answer the question. Let me say that it is very sad what is happening what is happening in the northern part of Ethiopia. But of course, it is not really our part. I mean, our role today to find a reason or an excuse for any conflict that is happening in Ethiopia or in Sudan or elsewhere in Africa. But as young generation or as young youth, as young men and women, our goal and our objective should always be on how to deeply root peace in our societies and communities. Politics will always divide us. But how can, as Africans, embrace a politics that will divide us in offices, in parliaments, but once we leave parliaments and offices, we are once again brothers and sisters. That should be the campaign of all young men and women. And it is happening. It is happening in Europe. It's happening in America. Let's look at Latin America and how was it 25 years ago? Armed groups, conflicts almost everywhere. The latest was in Colombia, which ended 2 years ago. Why the Latin Americans were able to embrace peace and sustain it, and we can't as Africans. We need, as African young men and women, and young women and men, to first of all, advocate and lobby for tolerance. We need to accept each other, despite differences of colors, race, ethnic groups, religions, whatever it is. Why? Because simply our diversity, our unity as Africans is in our diversity. God created us diverse people. So we cannot change God in his authority and tell him you were wrong in creating us different. It is part of the wisdom of the Creator that he created us differently. And the reason of creating us differently is to embrace each other, to respect each other, to learn from each other. Let me simply put it this way. If you are part of a culture that eat only beans every day, don't you get tired? The answer is simply yes. But if your neighbor is a different culture who eats meat, and another neighbor is from a different culture who eats fish, and you have a fourth neighbor who eats vegetables, so now you have an option of beans, meat, fish, and vegetables, and maybe chicken. So life becomes more diverse, and also, not only that, our knowledge becomes also more diverse. Our culture becomes more diverse. Different dances, different songs, different music. So that is why as African young men and women, we need to accept the reality that we as an African continent, we are a conflict, we are a continent of diversity, including diversity of people, diversity of language, diversity of religion, and also ethnic groups. Once we accept each other and tolerate each other, then the rest will become easier. But if we are not accepting the diversity that we are given by a higher power or authority, and we are challenging it, then we'll always move from conflict to another. So that is why peace education is extremely important. And when we are talking about peace education, we are not talking about peace education in the schools. We are talking about peace education in religious facilities, in tribal facilities, where traditional leaders, where religious leaders will speak about it. And once we do, then our communities and societies will become more peaceful. And once we are in a more peaceful communities and societies, we will be able to build our countries, our societies, our communities, and also build our continent, the Africa we all love. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope Yabanesh is satisfied with the answer. And I don't think he has disappointed you, like he said. Okay, Lont, you had a question?
Greetings, everyone. I'm Lentobego Manana from Kingdom of Eswatini. Thank you so much, Ambassador Salah, Mr. Dawit, and Mr. Tadis for a wonderful presentation. I just want to ask this question, maybe directed to Ambassador Salah. How has this policy of non-interference affected peace? Because we can see that throughout Africa, there is so much conflict that is scattered. And one of the reasons is that maybe at the higher level, there has been a non-state interference. And we saw that really cost a lot of lives during the war that was happening in Rwanda. So how has the state of non-interference affected Africa, and what can be done to reverse this policy so that more lives are saved, so that they can be intervening in order to maybe watch out for human rights and try to salvage or prevent more loss and more problems that are caused by conflict? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and greetings to you and to the good people of Eswatini, the kingdoms of hills and mountains, and the kingdom of good African people. Indeed, if we look at the history of the African Union as the continental organization, the African Union, after its creation in 2002, moved to embrace the non-indifference as a way of addressing conflicts in Africa. And that really led to, I would say, a reduction of the conflicts that we are dealing with every year. Why? Because the continental organization now, through its mechanisms, the Peace and Security Council, the Executive Council, even the Assembly, can intervene to stop conflicts in African countries. That happened in many African countries recently. We have the case of South Sudan, the case of Sudan, the case of Mali, the case of CAR, Central African Republic, Somalia, and very recently, I would say also to some extent in the Great Lake, I mean the Chad Lake, Lake Chad area and the Sahel. But to have more effective interference that will prevent more loss of life, we need to do three things. Still, there's need to do three things. And without them, I will say that the intervention of the African Union will not be as it is hoped for and as it is, of course, wished for. Number one, we need more political support to be given to the continental organization. So then the African Union will be able, with the political support from all member states, will have a stronger say to stop conflicts and prevent conflicts from happening. Secondly, there is need to also offer more funding to the African Union. So then the African Union will be capacitated financially to intervene, because in many cases, we have soldiers, we have troops in African countries, but they are funded by external actors. And those who are funding, the peace engagements, they usually have also strings attached to the money they're giving. So it is good that we as Africans, we look into ways and means to fund our own organization. So then our organization will certainly be stronger to advocate for peace and security. Last but not least, there is need for greater involvement of the African citizens. Many African citizens, unfortunately, they don't even know of the existence of the African Union. Many African citizens, they don't know what is the African Union is about. Many African citizens, they confuse the African Union with the African Union Football Association. So what I'm trying to say is we really need to involve the African citizens in the affairs of the African Union, so they can, like our brother today who committed himself to advocate and lobby for the African passport. We need more African young men and women to also advocate for the ratification of the AU instruments at the national level. Because if we can achieve universal ratification and implementation of the instruments we have, we can certainly dig deep the roots of peace, development, and security in our continent. And with that, we will be able to move ahead with the implementation of Agenda 2063, which is the blueprint for building the Africa we want within the next 50 years. So the question is it possible today for those who are part of this conversation to commit themselves to become African Union ambassadors in their networks, in their societies, in their schools, universities, in their organizations, and to advocate and lobby on behalf of the African Union for the ratification of the African Union instruments. With that, together, we will be able to move ahead. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Yes, so we have a few minutes remaining and we can use them for the best of our discussion. And I want to hear from Dawit and Tadessa also their submission, their conclusive remarks, really short. What's the way forward for them around building around this topic? What's their way forward? Mr. Tadesse, you there? And Dawit?
Can I add something?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And your conclusive remarks, because we
okay. Thank you so much for your attentions and Ambassador, as well as our precious participant. I have seen many things here in Africa. I visited many countries. I tried to communicate with many young leaders and many leaders, including the Ethiopian, the Kenyan, the Rwandan, and the Nigerian ambassador presidents. And I have so many discussions with many ambassadors, which based in Addis Ababa. So in my discussion with those people, I have tried to mention one thing. Mostly, even I tried to mention before, many policies is about use, but without use. Many policies. Every time in the African Union, in the Parliament, they decided about us without us. Even let us see the Parliament of Uganda. Let us see the Parliament of Ethiopia. Is there any young people there? No.
Yes, they are there.
There is not young people. Yeah,
yes.
there are few. But when we see the percentage of young people, it is more than those old people. But it is few young people are there. So mostly we have to engage youth in policy formations, not only in peace building. And even I said before, in there is socio-economic transition in peace building. So when I say socio-economic transition, it mainly relates with rebuilding the society, the financial system, in order to deliver basic service. So when we rebuild the financial system, when we rebuild the society, the infrastructure, we have to include the youth. So even as a recommendation, we have to mention one day in a year as World or Africa Day for Youth Peace Builders, for young peace builders. So in that time, we give award for young peace builder. So even we have to champion, and we have to advocate. We have to use different social medias like my organization, African Artist Peace Initiative. Mostly our main work is related with peace by using celebrated artists. So those artists, those celebrities, they have more power, more influence than other people. So we have to use those channels. Those channels can bring or can reach easily than others. So we have to use those people. We have to create different blogs, social medias that advocate peace building and peace for Africa and Agenda 2063. Even when we see social medias, pages, and websites, our world has many social medias related with beauty, fashion, and clothes. How about peace? We are suffering a lot from conflict, from civil war. Why? Because we don't have any advocacy, we don't have any promotion related with peace and peace building. Even look, United Nations and Africa Union, as well as the governments of our world, they are engaging in peace building not before conflict. They are engaging after conflict. So why not we make this? Even look, there is an organization called Ethiopian Inter-Religion Council. They have been doing a lot related with peace building, but not post-war or post-conflict. Yeah, even our Africa Union and other organizations, they engage in peace building military, or mostly in peacekeeping or in peace building. But we have to engage civilian, but it's not before conflict. I mean, after conflict. Before conflict, we have to engage those people. So we have to use, and we, the young generation of Africa, we have to knock the whole doors of ministerial position. We have to ask. If we ask them, they may prepare for another time. So we have to ask. You have to ask your principal. You have to ask your administration, not only your religious leaders. You have to ask everywhere. So we lost youth who asks about his right, about peace, about Agenda 2063. Even look, in Agenda 2063, there is an aspiration called making peaceful and secure Africa. So how is the Africa Union is engaged for making peaceful and prosperous Africa? How the Africa Union, how the government of African, they have been engaged for the promotion of peace, for the realization of Agenda 2063. So even when we ask someone in the road or in school, they don't know about any Agenda 2063 and the aspirations. Even they don't know about the flag of Africa Union.
Yes.
But they know more about the musician, the singers, and the football players. They know more about. So we have to write a lot. We have to invest a lot on our youth. We are the one who can make or break Africa. But recently we are breaking Africa. We use. So we have to not waiting after 15 years. We have to take the position peacefully, the position of the Prime Minister. Why Mr. Aklilu is not the Prime Minister of Ethiopia after 5 or 10 years? He can be the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, or you, and every one of you. But you have to ask first. You have to empower yourself. You have to invest on your education. So when I was, let us speak my experience. When I was grade 10, grade 8, I traveled 16 kilometers in a day for 4 years, from 8 to 11 class. I traveled 18 kilometers, 18 kilometers for education. I was from rural part of Ethiopia. So this is investing on you. So if you invest on you, not only through finance, as well as through education, through asking, through everything, you will take the position. In that time, Agenda 2063 and making Africa peaceful and secure will be real. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Dawit, for that passionate submission. Thank you so much. Mr. Tades, what's your remarks? You there? Tadesa? Oh, he looked like he's freezed. Well, we'll return back if he comes back. Ambassador Salah, what's your conclusive remarks going forward?
Yeah. Thank you so much. And once again, I really thank you very much for convening this gathering of young men and women to discuss African peace building issues as we soon will be celebrating Africa Day on the 25th of May. I just want to remind Dawit that we have a day, we have the day that the Africa Charter, the Africa Youth Charter was adopted as an African Youth Day. That is the day for youth to reflect on the African Charter and to try to advocate and lobby for the full ratification of the African Youth Charter. The African Union do have a lot of programs and activities to prevent conflicts from happening. And one of them is the program that I have the honor to head, the African Governance Architecture Secretariat, which is a set of programs and activities that are meant to promote good governance, democracy, and promote and protect human and people's rights, and also advocate for a state that is based on the rule of law, the respect of rule of law. We have a set of treaties that we advocate for. Among them is the African Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Governance, known as ACDEC, and also the African Youth Charter. And I invite all of you to please Google the African Youth Charter to see how rich it is in advocating for availing the space. I agree with everything Dawit said, but my disagreement with him is on one thing. You don't have to be invited to be part of your governance affairs. Because if you wait and you sit under the tree, you will never be called on. You have to find a way for your involvement in order to make the change. And by the way, The change can happen from even the little community, the small community that you're part of. I remember I witnessed when I was visiting one African country, I'm not going to mention it, but I was invited by a small village to honor them as an African Union staff. And I said, well, in fact, I would be honoring myself to visit you in your village. So I went. And to my surprise, the village was so clean. Of course, we have the cleanest city of Rwanda as the cleanest city in Africa. I mean Kigali. But I found this young, small village to be very clean village. So then I was really shocked, and I said, it was really something that drew my attention. And then they told me, you know what we do? As young men and women of this village, we heard that in a country called Rwanda, the president himself, every last weekend of the month, will lead a cleaning 4 hours on Sunday. So that's Sunday from 6 in the morning to 10 in the morning. There's no cars on the streets because everyone will just go on the street and clean in front of his or her own house, including the president cleaning in front of his palace, which is the government house. So now they replicate and duplicate that initiative in that village. So every last Sunday of the month, every citizen in that village, old, young, women, men, will come out and clean in front of their houses or in front of the street where they live. The result is a very, very clean village. This is an initiative led by youth. They never waited for government to come and support them with it. This is just an example. In that village also, they have a number of initiatives. They collect 10, let's say 10 pounds or 10 whatever from the local currency they have, which is a small amount from each household in that village. And you know what they do with it? They put solar system panels to feed the hospital or the small clinic in that village with electricity 24/7. They never waited for the government. So they did it on their own with the little, So what I'm trying to say is, as African youth, we need to accept what we have before us, but we need to also use it to progress and to move ahead to make it better. Waiting in the shade for someone to call on you will never lead you to where you want. The dreams can become reality if you work hard to make them a reality.
Yes.
So please, my last comment is, as an African young man and women, proceed with your education. Despite I personally am a proud African who went to university with one shirt. Today I'm an ambassador, and I did it with the support of my family, despite the challenges that they face and the economic situation that they lived in. And if I can make it, I'm sure many others can do.
Yes.
Dawit made it by walking for 87 kilometers every day. And I'm sure there are so many other Dawits can also do the same. Commitment, believing in the reality that the dreams can come true. But for us to make our dreams to come true, we have to believe in ourselves and to accept the differences we live in and to tolerate each other, respect each other, help each other, assist each other. And with that, we will live a peaceful life and build the Africa that is prosperous, united, and peaceful. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Please join me and send emojis of thanks to our distinguished Dawit, Ambassador Salah, and in his absence, Mr. Tades, I think network jumped off. So thank them so much. So from myself and the African Rebus, we thank you very much for taking your time to come and speak these words of wisdom, because it's all about mindset, as you've been saying. Even in Europe, things are not rosy as people think. I hear they're going for green pastures, but they are not really green, they are dry. They're really brown or black, green pastures. So thank you very much for shaping mindset. And the whole idea of African Rebirth is to empower young African leaders. These young leaders are from every part of the continent. Right now, actually, we've been addressing African Union on Zoom. So they are from all over parts of the continent. And the idea is change that mindset. If you change mindset, your world can't change unless you change the way you see the world. That's it. You can complain of poverty, government not available, conflict, but unless you change your world, just giving that example of where people clean their villages. So assuming that everyone here on the platform did the initiative and doing the, changing community, giving hope to people. And that's the way to go. And it's always such a pleasure to host such distinguished, experienced, and passionate African, let me add that, to speak to young people. So thank you very much. Like Dawit usually say, from the bottom of his heart. For me, I'm from the top and the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for speaking to young people, and we close the day. So we've been doing this for the last 6 weeks. This is our last day. And it's a very special day to conclude on the question of peace. And let's go and debate peace. Peace starts from you. If you love your neighbor, just like a golden rule, it's simple. It's simple. We'll take it to politics. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Remember that we are the leaders to change, don't wait anyone. It all comes back to you as a person. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful cohort we had. It's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure. We'll continue to discuss all that. We'll have a full day of celebration about our achievements for the last 6 weeks. So thank you very much. I hope everyone has taken the challenge to lobby their governments. Mine is taken. And as an African Rebirth, we are going to take that too. So thank you very much. Shalom, everyone, and alhamdulillah to the Muslim, everyone. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, moderator. And to all, please, if you're an African, you're an African Union. So the African Union is your organization. And I left my contact information on the chat room for anyone who has any question or anything to do with the African Union. We have an open door policy. Once again, together, let's join hands and build the Africa we want, the Africa we deserve. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.